Right. Good morning, students at Scorched Sands University. Welcome to the study hall where I'll go over your homework. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Sheela. I'm the teacher's assistant to Professor Bulwer Smythe here at Scorched Sands University. A little bit of housekeeping before I take a look at your homework for the Hobo Mystics lesson the professor put out. If you haven't checked out the Hobo Mystics and the Hobo series, you might want to go over there and check out the series. But if you're caught up and you want to see what grade you got on your homework, here we go. Yes, so a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. I just want to thank the hundreds of new students who have registered here at Scorched Sands University. We've gotten a lot of new people, and thank you for attending class and for some of you submitting your homework. If you're interested in going to the Scorched Sands University bookshop, we've got the emoji grimoire, and thank you so much for everyone who's ordered it. We've only got a few more left in the bookshop of the second printing, so get on it if you haven't got it yet, and you can learn a lot about demons and emojis. And there's also another book in the university bookshop, which is a little bit of a different sort of texture. I have it on good authority that is a bit erotic, and it's the story of an ogre and sort of the sex lives of ogres, if you're interested in that sort of thing, sort of a cultural anthropology study written by the puppeteer, and it's also illustrated. So if you're interested in something a little bit more naughty, head over to the university bookshop and check out Rex Quogue, Ogre King of the Damned, a great story. So let's just jump right in. First, we've got Wu Chang Wu, who says, fascinating professor, the thread of occult antiquity weaving through to modern hobo culture has inspired me to delve deeper into the glyphs of gang culture. I often find sigils which are embedded in the letters of the Phoenician alphabet, amongst other very peculiar things and in very peculiar places. Wow. A great start to the homework here with Wu Chang Wu, talking about symbols and looking out for symbols in the world. I applaud you, Wu Chang Wu, for this, for utilizing some of the language the professor is talking about with symbols and looking into your current world right now. You're able to really apply history to the current moment. For that, I give you an A+, no doubt about it. Be careful out there with those with that gang culture stuff, though. Be careful. And I would like to say, I'd love to hear more about the Phoenician alphabet that you've been thinking about. I don't know that much about it, and I think I speak for myself as well as the professor when I say, wow, I'd love to know more about what you've discovered about this link between the Phoenician alphabet as well as the sigils. A+, Wu Chang Wu. Okay, moving on. Next we've got the human Cheshire Cat, who says, I'm both a hobo and a mystic. So thank you so much, human Cheshire Cat, for swinging on in. I know hobos and mystics are quite journeying throughout the country, so it's great you were able to sit in and audit the class. I would like to say that the class is available to audit for any traveller or hobo who happens to want to sit in. Education for all. Great. Thank you so much, human Cheshire Cat. Okay, next we've got Stab456, who says, imagine our memes live on for hundreds or thousands of years, and questioning observers wonder about their meaning in an occult sense. I'm going to give you a solid B- for this Stab456, but I will say this is a great question. This is a great thought. I'd love you to expand on sort of like what memes do you think might stick around? What are our most culturally significant memes? I'd love to know how you think the future of the internet might be preserved if it all crashes. Like, does someone print something? Are we going to draw memes on rocks? Or do you think the internet is going to last forever? I'd love to know what some of your favorite memes are and how you think that those memes might be perceived by a future culture. So what sticks around? I'd love to get more of your mind on this, Stab456, and other students out there. Feel free to respond here to Stab456's comments about memes. Let me know. Let us all have a conversation about what our favorite memes are and which ones do we want to survive into the future. Thank you so much, 456 B-. Alright, next we've got the Bubba Man, who did go to the university bookshop and buy the Emoji Grimoire book. So thank you so much. for shopping at the university bookstore and getting on top of your emoji studies. So you say, but your suppositions about the state of the hobos put me in the mind of the movie Nomads, 1986, with Pierce Brosnan and Adam Ant, about a French anthropologist in Los Angeles who discovers a small band of nomads living in the city, and while attempting to study them, gets sucked in to a different state of being they're dwelling in. I found it a fascinating idea back in the day, and it relates somewhat closely to what you're speculating upon. I was wondering if you're familiar with this work and if you have any comment on the parallels. Well, I know that I haven't seen the movie, me, Sheela, teacher's assistant to the professor. I'll have to check if he's got the VHS, and I'll catch up on it too. But thank you so much for the suggestion, Bubba Man. I'm a great fan of Adam Ant. I can't believe I've never heard of this. It sounds really mind-bending and exciting, and yes, I'm a great fan of Adam and the Ants. I do love Prince Charming, as well as Stand and Deliver. You know, I love the dandy highwaymen. I love that sort of figure, and I love thinking about it in relation to the hobos. Here's the dandy highwayman. I spend my cash on looking flash and grabbing your attention. He's sort of a figure who also is quite nomadic, like the hobo. I consider Adam Ant himself to be sort of an outsider figure who played quite a bit with gender and played quite a bit with different personas. If you watch the music video to Prince Charming, you'll see he's someone who looks in a mirror and sees himself as several figures, as if he's sort of a psychopath moving throughout space, wearing different masks and sort of that thing. And I think in a lot of ways, queer culture is a place where people on the margins, much like hobos traveling between spaces, and queer culture and in fashion culture, you have people being able to shapeshift greatly to their advantage and becoming fuller kinds of people. So I think I love thinking about your comment here, the Bubba Man, just because you reminded me of Adam Ant and the really brilliant sort of places that we can explore through self-expression, and how big of a category this really is, how big of a topic this really is. I'm going to give you an A- for this. I'd love to hear actually a lot more of your ideas, but I am so excited to watch Nomads. I can't believe I've never heard it before. Thank you so much, the Bubba Man. Next, we've got Things We Should Know, who submitted the sentence. This has always been one of my favorite subjects to try to talk to people about. It is kind of hard to try to talk to people about things. I think that if you're even trying to talk, you are talking there, things we should know. And you shouldn't take the wind out of your own sails there. If you're talking about it, you are talking about it, and whether or not people are listening, sort of up to them. It is a great topic. I'm going to give you a C for this. I'd love to hear more of what you think about it and not just what it's like to try to talk to people, because here you are in a forum with your fellow students, and now you're allowed to talk about it. People actually here will understand you. Here we are. So I am thinking about your experience in the real world. Maybe you've gotten shot down by wanting to talk about hobos, but look, you found your space. What do you have to say? Say something. C. Next, we've got Myros4284, who says, a few thoughts on hobos. It reminds me of the Fool card. Oh, yes, of the tarot. A wanderer set out on a journey. Also, the tie-in with the crossroads and being called dead men is similar to wandering spirits unable to pass on. Uri, this is a great comment. I love that you're thinking of the... I love that you're thinking of the Fool card, that sort of archetypal image of the fool with a stick on his back and sort of a kerchief holding all of the items he owns, with a sort of freedom of the idea that anything could happen. I love the relationship that you make there. I think that also I'd love to hear you go deeper, because you obviously know a bit about the tarot, but I'd love to hear you go deeper. What other cards do you can you associate with these sort of archetypes and some of the things the professor is saying when we talk about the crossroads? What card is that for you? Do you consider the crossroads to be a place that, is it the devil card for you? Is the crossroads, the crossroads could be represented by a few of the cards. I'm also curious what you think of the chariot, because we're talking a lot about trains and things that move and this sort of sense of that kind of freedom. So I'm so curious about what other cards remind you of hobos, because I think, though you're spot on with a fool, it's also kind of the obvious one to say. So I'd love to hear more. I'm going to give you a B. Thank you so much, Myroos4284. Dreaming in Slow Motion, who says, They are a mystic hobo themselves. Ah, yes, and I approve of this topic. I will say, and you say I'm not quite as cool as those guys, though. Why not? I bet you are quite as cool as those guys. Thank you so much to another hobo for auditing a class at Scorched Sands University. Again, we're open to the public. You don't have to pay to go to Scorched Sands University. If you want to come and you want to audit a class and learn, we're for everyone. So I love saying a mystic hobo. Swing through to the professor's lectures. Good on ya. Next, we've got T.D.F5968, who says, I need to backtrack and take in the other hobo lectures. It seems that these hobos are travelling out of time, out of the current society norms, and that we may even say they were time travellers. The idea of the clickety-clack of the train inducing a trance state is quite appealing. Sound-induced altered states of consciousness. Your suggestion that the spirits were able to communicate or possess the hobo is very interesting, as is the drunken hobo partaking of the spirits, which spirit sits well or travels well. Maybe the hobo code was actually the spirits communicating with each other via the vehicle. Going westbound down into the underworld, those men willing to jump the train were likely fearless or not faint of heart, to be in this world but not of it. I applaud them. Cheers to the hobo, their code and their creed. This is an A+ answer from T.D.F5968. Absolutely A+ effort from you here, T.D. I love your respect for the subject matter. I love your humanity. I love your writing style. I love thinking about this sort of visual you set up with the clickety-clack. You have a beautiful way of engaging with the material, and you have a beautiful humanity in seeing the subject matter, not just as an item of fascination, but when you say that these men are willing to jump a train, were likely fearless or not faint of heart. I'm really, really getting a sense of the humanity that you're seeing in the subject matter, and not just it as a fascination. And I think it's really important for us to humanize all of the people we talk about throughout history, and I think you're spot on with this. Thank you so much, T.E, an A+. You are a stellar student in this class, and I can't wait to see what more you have to write in. Thank you so much. Agree. So next we've got Veritas Equitas 8024, who says, interesting idea that renaming something may in some way change the thing itself. Ooh, a fascinating topic here. That is the power in the name. And you say that biblically, all of creation, including life itself, was spoken into existence by the Most High. You know, Veritas, I've never read the Bible, but I have read the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien, and that is also, I understand, speaking things, this sort of idea of a sound, a big bang, things coming into existence, the word, the sound, being this very important thing. It suggests that we are made in the image of the Creator. We retain some small power to use speech or language to affect the inherent properties of objects through either sound, frequency, or meaning that we ascribe to everything in reality through names and definitions. Wow, that is so true. Like, we've got just this little way to shape our reality. You know, this homework assignment that you've submitted here reminds me quite a bit of I was reading a bit about how if you speak a different language, your framework for the world is quite a bit different. So what you're able to believe in, what you're able to see, is really impacted by the language centers of your brain. So changing the way you frame things, language as a framing method, and that sort of shaping our world through communication. That's an extremely powerful concept, and we're dealing with languages, sigils, and signs that we leave for one another. We are shaping the world indeed. And you say that this idea brings new light to the process of rebranding, and that's a great sort of thing that Professor brings up in the video about the cigarettes being coffin nails, and that sort of being this exchange kind of thing where it reminds me actually a bit of dog whistling, and you know, when people are talking about politics, and they're saying one thing but meaning another, and they have like couched the meaning of something in something that in a set of words that seem innocuous on the surface, but inside of them there's sort of they're couching, they're a mask for something else. It reminds me quite a bit of dog whistling, as well as rebranding, of course. And you say it may be the reasoning behind Twitter's new X logo and Facebook changing to Meta. That's really interesting, sort of shaping our reality, seeing, when I think about a company like Twitter or Facebook, I'm thinking about like sort of they're like communities, they're like town halls there's so many millions of people who are communicating through that area, and then the person who actually like owns the space, who owns the town hall, kind of exerts themselves over us in a way and says, oh, guess what, now the name has changed, and now you have to participate in that change of name. And I wonder so much how you might feel, Veritas, about what does it feel like for you inside of that sort of thing. So like, for example, if you are a Twitter user and someone on high has changed the name of Twitter or has changed the functionality of Twitter, how does that change the way that your mind is interfacing with the world? I'm so curious as to the individual experience inside of the thing. So I'd really be curious about hearing that from you. It seems these corporations may be hiding knowledge of a secret power. Who would have thought? I don't think it's a secret. That's the thing, is that we're talking about it right now, and I don't think it's secret. I think knowing the functionality, the sort of tech, if you will, of the language, it's not exactly a secret. They're doing it right in front of us. We're talking about it right now. So I think we can measure our own freedom based on how many things we can talk about, and we're talking about this, so that's quite interesting, isn't it? So I don't know if it's that much of a secret. They're just doing it. I would love to know, Veritas, how you would use this tech, how you would use language to change your world. That sort of the more interesting part is not what, all of the, like, if you think about, all of these people are doing this thing to my reality. What are you doing in return? How do you shape your reality, and how does it make you feel? I'd love to know that. B+ Veritas. Next we've got Jason, who says, how in the world does this channel only have 5k subs? Oh gosh, Jason, I don't know. Tell your friends. Hopefully you have 5k more. Alright, so next we've got user JO90B9CO7H, who says, very convincing. Well, user, we're not here to convince you of anything. We're here to give you ideas. So I don't want to sway you in one direction or another. I know the professor's goal is not to sway you in one direction or the other, but if it's convincing to you, love to know more, user. If you even are a user, I don't know. It says, are you a bot? No judgment. If you're a bot, I'd love to hear your response as well. Why not? Like, let's include the bots. Scorched Sands University open to everyone equal here. Hobos swinging through town, robots showing up. I don't care. Even if you are a bot, I'd love to hear your opinions. Go further. I'm going to give you a D on this one, user, but I invite you to come back to class, especially if you're a bot. I'd love to hear the opinions of bots on Hobos. Are you kidding me? More. Actually, I'm going to get a thumbs up right now. Why not? Alright, the Bubba Man again just asks a question. Any chance of finding you on Rumble? Well, I believe that Rumble is a bit of a right-wing video place, and I have it on good authority that the professor's a communist and believes in communist philosophies. So, no. Okay, so I'd like to bring our attention to Honest John 5555, who has written what I would call an incredible research paper for his homework, and every single student in this entire class should be looking to Honest John 5555 regarding how do we interact with the professor's material. So you can even see here, the professor himself says, bravo, absolutely top tier work here. Looking forward to what further research brings. And I think that looking at Honest John's essay here will give us all insight, not only into the topic of hobo mystics, but also show us how to really engage with this sort of material and have fun with research and questions. And so let's dive into it. I want to first of all say that before I even start with Honest John's, the professor has already said A+, and so this is already graded by the professor. I'm just going over it with you, but so Honest John already knows the professor has given him an A+, and I can add an extra plus to that because I am a teacher's assistant. So A++ to Honest John, 5555. So let's go to his first. He has 2 essays here. He starts off by mentioning coffin nails, which is something that the professor talks about in the lesson. The professor obviously talks about coffin nails and how that is a name that the hobos have given to their cigarettes so that they can use them in magic. So Honest John goes down an avenue of talking about coffin nails and cigarettes and sort of the history of tobacco and cigarettes in American culture, how tobacco is grown initially and how indigenous people use tobacco for one purpose, and that after the Civil War in America, arsenic starts being used in the pesticides, the soil that we grow the tobacco in, thereby sort of on that edge of the Industrial Revolution, we are adding arsenic to the soil. And Honest John 555's comments or conclusions here of saying that arsenic, this is the research that's very brilliant about Honest John 555, is that, Honest John is really connecting so much with the idea of alchemy and magic in the perspective that the professor presents it and going down an avenue. So basically, Honest John, you're saying that arsenic has a relationship to transformation, and arsenic has a historical symbolism of swans, and also has this history, and you get into the history, and I think that that's what you should all be noting, students of Scorched Sands University, is sort of that every single point in every single essay has a relationship with history. And Honest John really understands that the lineage of like what is arsenic, has this relationship with swans, but it also in its actual physical properties and science is poisoning the supply of tobacco, making it go from something that is ceremonial, beautiful, sort of communal in the indigenous uses, to something that absolutely isolates us, something that kills us, something that produces lung cancer, something that goes from something that, like tobacco, going from something that is we're breathing it in together, we're connecting with God together, we're coming together, versus now where we're at right now, where there's huge lung cancer because of the things that are added to the tobacco. So this idea that the hobos are in a time period between those two things where the arsenic has started being used, and the arsenic itself being this transformative chemical that starts on a dark path of this transformation of a crop. And we see a crop used for various purposes, but we have this in-between time period of the hobos where they are the people who say these are coffin nails, and they're saying these are coffin nails before anyone ever does any studies about lung cancer. It's like right at that edge where it starts getting really bad. So maybe on some level the hobos are feeling the transformation, because the hobos themselves are these people who move between the margins, who move on trains, who have a relationship with time. Perhaps the hobos are being able to see things outside of time as they are in this world but not of it. Say, I'm sensing something changing, I'm feeling the alchemical impact of the arsenic in here, but somewhere in them they know that we can change this. This is not just a cigarette, this is a coffin nail. We can use it quite a bit differently. Its form is changing, its uses are changing. And Honest John goes on to ask the question, sort of, he's looking into what the historical association with swans, arsenic, and therefore cigarettes is. And I would maybe point him in the direction of the swan maidens, who can be quite tricky, but this sort of it's a transformative thing. And this idea that people who are on the margins, people who are mystics, are seeing things from the outside, people who have a different relationship with time, such as hobos, are going to get these senses of how things are transforming. They are sort of, like I said, the canaries in the coal mine in a lot of ways, like looking to these people who are on the margins and the language they use and the slang that flows through them, giving us a sense of time, giving us a sense of lineage, giving us a sense of something that's changing. I think this is beautifully researched and beautifully written, and I think everyone who's interested in this subject, and indeed generally interested in how in sort of how to do research that both has historical interest and scientific crossover, should absolutely look at Honest John 555's 2 pieces about this, especially if you'd like to. He does a beautiful job of describing some of the beautiful parts of the indigenous ceremonies, about how beautiful of a crop tobacco was before it was pesticided, before it was turned into whatever it's turned into now. And Honest John asked the question, which sort of gods and entities were the indigenous people contacting and having this communal experience around tobacco versus post-transformation? Who are we contacting now? It's a darker god, perhaps. It's a demon, perhaps. There are 2 sides of this. It's something that has become changed to us, that can never be the same. And I think absolutely that the hobos were in this just after it started to be poisoned and transformed and alchemized. The hobos found this phrase, coffin nails, and could be used this in a different sort of way, perhaps feeling the sense of death that was impending. So, Honest John, I'm just going to give you an A++++, because this is the kind of work the professor lives for. This is the kind of discussion the professor and I are here at Scorched Sands University to have. The curiosity, the research, the understanding of history. Honest John, you've really knocked it out of the park, and I hope that you'll be back with more of your research after you look into the Swan Association with this, and finding all of these incredible avenues to think down. And I want to remind all of the students that, just because you're thinking down an avenue doesn't mean that you necessarily even have to believe it. You can think down as many avenues as you want, and you can believe all of them at the same time, or some of them on some days and others on others. How you move within yourself around these ideas, it is a sign of your freedom. And you can do all the research in the world and come up with the most cohesive and beautiful concepts that you can throw away and not believe the next day at all. But the research and the way of thinking and the ability to connect dots and then throw away the dots, or hold on to some of the dots, or just have fun with the dots. That's what we're here for. And I really, really appreciate Honest John 555. Thank you for attending the lecture. Thank you for your homework. Hope to see you in the future. Thank you. Alright, Sean Holohan 590. I hope I'm saying that right. 590. I really enjoy your productions, but I don't know why 19th century hobo glyphs have any relevance to what is going on in the world right now, and thus I find this boring. And I'm sure you other subscribers want to understand what is happening around us now. Alright, Sean. Okay, let's talk for a second. First of all, giving you an F on this one. Sorry. But I think you could do a lot better than this. Okay, what the professor giving you here is something history, Sean. History has relevance. There are lessons from history. There's information from history that you can apply to right now. And the professor does respond to you saying you must use your imagination. I think that's entirely true. I think imagination is not just an escapist thing. Stories from the past aren't just stories from the past. They have a relevance to what is happening around us right now. And if you really want to know what's happening around you right now, Sean, why don't you tell me? You can see a reality. You can see your own thoughts. You can feel your own feelings. That is what is happening right now. You get to decide what's happening right now. You know what you got to do, Sean? You got to get off YouTube and you got to get out into the world. Then you'll know what's happening around you right now. You can come back and report it to us, because a lot of us are just sitting here on YouTube and we don't know what's happening right now either. So I think it's really important to go for a walk, come back, tell us what happened on your block, because that's what's happening right now. Great idea. So if you might want to go out into reality and report back, you looking to a puppet on YouTube for telling you what's happening in the world right now, and you've got your own eyes and you've got your own ears and you've got your own senses and you've got your own opinions, you can do it, I think. And the professor really encourages you here. So I encourage you as well. And I also will say, Draven Dark Matter response here saying you definitely don't speak for me, winky face. I think that learning about symbolic languages and the history of how they're used is an essential skill to navigate our world with. You notice Draven says navigate our world, which means maybe Draven is going out into the world, navigating it. It is a rich history with a lot of practical application for recognizing patterns in our world. I find it endlessly interesting and feel exhausting when someone speaks on behalf for all of us. Why rely on the professor to teach you about the world when you can use whatever way of looking at the world that the professor teaches you? You're missing a beat, my fellow student. Welcome to Scorched Sands University. It isn't a place of profits. It is a place of using your own mind alongside what you're learning. Bob, weave, get expansive with it. Draven Dark Matter, again, A+. One of our best students here at Scorched Sands University, really understanding what the professor is putting down there. And again, somebody who really goes out into the real world and says, I'm taking the professor's ideas with me. Maybe some of them agree with what I'm seeing. Maybe some of them don't agree with what I'm seeing. You gotta pick and choose, and to be able to pick and choose, you gotta get off YouTube, Sean. Alright, so all in one moment on this day, I've got everywhere from an F to an A+ in the same conversation. Alright, great. Well, thank you so much for all the 800 people who tuned in, who came to the Hobo Mystics lecture. If you haven't caught up on all of the professor's other lectures, take a peek around on the YouTube channel. Welcome to Scorched Sands University, and head over to the university bookshop to buy the Emoji Grimoire, as well as you can check out a book called Rex Quogue, Ogre King of the Damned, which is an erotic ogre story illustrated and written by the puppeteer himself. You can go over to the Scorched Sands coffee page and give us a small monthly donation as your sort of tuition, if you can afford that. If you've got a few extra dollars and you've really been enjoying the videos, we'd love that. You can also go and buy a feedback session from me, Sheela Foot, and basically you can send me one of your comments or your essays, and I'll give you annotated feedback to it, and you'll get that in an MP3, and you can hear my beautiful voice and the ideas as guided by the professor. Great. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for handing in your homework. And by the way, the professor did actually assign specific homework to the Hobo Mystics lesson, and none of you actually completed the real assignment, and that homework was to look up hobo slang and relate it to some of these ideas. But none of you did that. But I love to hear all of your amazing thoughts and opinions about things. I don't get around to every single comment every single time. But I love your homework. I love for you to keep submitting it. And right, I'll see you next time, next feedback.